अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, प्रोग्राम द न्यूज़ रिव्यू संगत मां आहियां जो मेज़बान फयाज़ नाइच। नाज़रीन, सियासत मईशत वग़ैरह वग़ैरह इन ते काफ़ी जाम ॻाल्हियूं थियूं आहिनि, पर मईशत सां लाॻापियल हिकिड़ो टॉपिक आहे। सॼी दुनिया जी मार्केट हिकिड़ो ग्लोबल विलेज थी वई आहे ऐं इंटरनेट खां पोइ दुनिया हिकिड़े नंढे ॻोठ वांगुरु थी वई आहे ऐं जेके नौकिरियुनि ऐं कारोबार जा ज़रिया आहिनि उहे दुनिया जी जंहिं बि कुंड में हुजनि, हर माण्हू लाइ उन्हनि ते एक्सेस जेका आहे उहा आसान थी वई आहे। पर उन जे लाइ हिकिड़ी मख़सूस ट्रेनिंग्स खपनि, मख़सूस जेको टेक्निक्स खपनि। उन जे लाइ दुनिया जे अंदरि केतिरियूं फर्म्स आहिनि जेके उहे ट्रेनिंग्स ॾियारनि थियूं पियूं ऐं ज़ाहिर आहे उन जे लाइ माण्हुनि खे कैपेबल बणाइनि थियूं पियूं। अॼु उन हवाले सां ई हिकिड़े आलमी लेवल जे हिकिड़े एक्सपर्ट सां असां गुफ़्तगू कंदासूं। उनजो नालो आहे ऑस्कर गार्शिया। ऑस्कर गार्शिया जेको आहे उहो अमेरिका सां तालुक़ु रखनि था ऐं सिलिकॉन वैली जो नालो तव्हां ॿुधो हूंदो, तमामु मशहूरु आहे, जिते सॼी जेका आहे जेका दुनिया जी कंप्यूटर जी दुनिया आहे उन जो हिकिड़ो वॾो हब आहे, उहो मर्कज़ आहे उते। ऑस्कर गार्शिया साहब जेको आहे उहो एस्पायरा सां कमु कनि था पिया ऐं उनजा फाउंडर आहिनि ऐं हेल ताईं हू बहसियत हिकिड़े प्रोफेशनल ट्रेनर जे 12,000 खां वधीक प्रोफेशनल्स खे जेके मुख़्तलिफ़ कारोबारनि ऐं मुख़्तलिफ़ कंपनियुनि ऐं मुख़्तलिफ़ शोबनि सां लाॻापियल जेके आहिनि उहे कमु कनि था। उन्हनि खे ट्रेनिंग करे चुका आहिनि, 375 खां वधीक सेमिनार्स करे चुका आहिनि ऐं उहे सिर्फ़ु हुन अमेरिका में न कया आहिनि बल्कि दुनिया जे 5 खंडनि जे अंदरि हुननि इहो कमु कयो आहे। ताज़ो हू हिते कराची ऐं इस्लामाबाद में बि मुख़्तलिफ़ वर्कशॉप्स ऐं ट्रेनिंग्स खे हुन ख़िताबु कयो हुयो ऐं जंहिंखां पोइ अॼु असां हुननि खां टाइम वरितो आहे त असां पंहिंजे नौजवाननि जे लाइ उन सां गुफ़्तगू कयूं ऐं उन्हनि खे थोरी आगाही मिले त दुनिया जे अंदरि अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ खे कीअं कैप्चर कजे ऐं उन ते पहुचण जे लाइ कहिड़ा कहिड़ा ज़रिया आहिनि। मिस्टर ऑस्कर गार्शिया, I welcome you formally in my show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here, my friend.
Thank
I
you
really
very much
appreciate it.
thank you very much, because I know it is very early there where you are, but we have bothered you so early. Thank you for your time. I will first of all request you to introduce yourself, because I have introduced you in a Sindhi language, but I want you to introduce yourself, what you actually do and what are your expertise you are working on.
So I refer to myself as the Chief Empowerment Officer, which is CEO. I'm the founder and Chief Empowerment Officer of Aspida Consulting. We are a Silicon Valley-based training and consulting company that provides training in the areas of branding, marketing, LinkedIn training, career and leadership development. And my company's been around for almost 8 years now. And in the 8 years, I've had the opportunity to train well over 33,000 professionals across now 15 countries and 5 continents. So a little bit about myself and our company.
Okay, what especially trainings you provide?
So I'll give you a specific example. So when I was just recently in Karachi and Islamabad, I focused on providing training to startups, entrepreneurs, college students, and some other professionals. I covered on topics such as the art of taking risks and building resilience, how to build your professional brand and nourish relationships. Those 2 topics are very important, especially given that my company was founded in Silicon Valley and the impact that the whole startup ecosystem has had around the world. But the other thing too that's important, and I think many times many of us, whether it's a business owner or a career professional, we get wrong, is we do not know how to network. We treat it very transactional. I teach people how to build relationships first, then business second.
You have a program for culturally relevant career readiness. Cultural relevant career, what does that mean? What culture has to do with the career?
Yeah, so culturally relevant, what that means is that, I'll give you an example. So I'm part Mexican. I'm Mexican American. My parents were from Mexico. And they never spoke English. And so I was my parents' translator since I was 5 years old until they passed away almost 8 years ago. And I remember going to doctor's appointments with my mother because she was diabetic. And one day the nurse gave her recommendations on the type of foods that she should be eating. Now, the nurse approached it from a very mainstream white Anglo-Saxon perspective and said to my mother, instead of eating 4 slices of white bread, I want you to eat 1 slice of whole wheat. And she just went through the list. My mother, being Mexican, does not eat white bread. We eat tortillas. So that is an example of being culturally irrelevant. And so what I tell people is the way we approach our career, professional career, our business, there's a lot of cultural influences that come into play. And so I'm able to provide a more culturally relevant career leadership training to professionals.
So the two topics you have covered in Pakistan, as you mentioned earlier, one was about the risk resilience. What does that mean?
Well, as an entrepreneur or as a business professional, in order for us to grow in our career or in our business, we have to be willing to take risks. See, many times we believe that success is linear. You go to college, study really hard, get a degree in a major that is in high demand, and then you're gonna find a job at a company and you're gonna live happily ever after. That is not true. Life, there's a series of ups and downs, and so one, teaching people why it's important to take risks. Number two, how do you take risk? And then number three, what happens when you fail? Because you will fail. How do you pick yourself back up? That is where that resilience comes into play.
So what about the startups? One other topic was about the startups. So what does that mean?
Oh my gosh! I mean, for startups themselves, that is one of the areas where, first of all, many times as an entrepreneur, as a founder, we live in this fairy tale land that we have this great idea. It's the best idea. No one has thought about it, and we just need to go out there, raise some money, and build a good team, and we're going to be successful. And what happens is the minute we talk to our parents, the minute we talk to our close friends about our idea and they tell us that our idea is horrible, then all of a sudden we take that first hit, let alone when the economy changes and things happen that are outside of our control, we go into, we fail oftentimes. In fact, in Silicon Valley, and I'm willing to bet, and around the world, the majority of startups actually fail. So it's important that we learn to embrace failure and we learn to pick ourselves back up despite of the failure.
So if we go further, what do you think, what is important to start a business? Without money or having such a huge amount of money, is there any possibility to start a business? How much the money plays role for the startups of the businesses?
Yeah, so it depends. It definitely depends on the type of startup industry that you're going into. If your company's going into an industry that is highly regulated, you have some big companies that are already in that space, it is going to take quite a bit of money to start. But there's also many startups, many opportunities where you don't need money or you need very little money. In fact, my company, I started it with zero money. I started with an idea, the training. I started my company with doing training at a local library, and for 2.5 years, I did free workshops. In the meantime, I was doing odd jobs and consulting work. And so it just depends, again, on the type of business startup. See, many of us, when we think startups, we think of the Metas, we think of the Googles, we think of the Airbnbs, these big companies that's what we think of. But my friend, this is what I tell people too. That person out on the street that is selling fresh fruit, and has been in business for 50 years, that was a startup at one point, and it's a very successful business. We just in Silicon Valley perpetuate this image, this sexy image of this big startup, when in reality, many of us, we're not even going to get to that level. And it's okay to start small and grow small.
So what is the role of academic background? Because so many people who are not good in their academia, they always feel nervous that there is no future for them. What, as a trainer, as an expert, what is your opinion about the academic role of academic career of a person in his success of a future?
Yeah, so here's the other thing too, to that point, is that one of the things that the pandemic taught us, and also helped us be more accepting, is one, it taught us that we can literally work from anywhere in the world. Again, there are different positions, jobs where that's not possible. I can't operate on you from Mexico, where I'm at right now, but I can do a training from here. And so that's one thing. It opened the possibility for us to do more remote work and work almost from anywhere in the world. Number two, and also for companies and for some traditional industries, it also opened them the idea to be accepting of employees working remote. Now, what does that mean in terms of from a professional career development? That means that today, from a cost of living standpoint, we can stay in our country or wherever it is that we choose to live from, and be able to work remote internationally. In my case, I am, as I shared with you when we were scheduling this meeting, I am right now in Mexico. For the last almost 2 years, I split my time living and working between Silicon Valley and the beaches of Mexico. And so we need to, as a professional, I encourage people, learn some skills, look at how to market yourself, and identify opportunities that actually meet the needs of what makes you happy and also a quality of life.
So, what do you think, what is the role of internet? Because that has changed the whole of the world. The opportunities before this internet and all this social media and all that phenomena, everyone was they have an opportunity to capture opportunities on a local level. But now the village the world has become really a global village. Access to everywhere is possible, virtually, also physically. What do you think? What it has played role in, especially for the countries like us, where there is a poor infrastructure, where there is a poor infrastructure of education, where there is not a huge money or banking system who provide you support for the businesses, and the academia is not good, as education institutions do not provide good education. What has there for countries like us?
So you're right. The internet, social media has opened new opportunities for all of us. For Pakistan, for that person that's in that small town, rural community, has opened the door to new opportunities. There are obviously these macro challenges, government regulations, issues between countries, and so forth. Absolutely, there are. And that is out of my control as an entrepreneur. What I focus is in what I can control. And here's the thing, though. While many of us might be poor monetarily, We don't need to be poor with our self-worth. The challenge with many of us, with 99% of us, is that we don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe. We lack that self-worth. See, everyone talks about financial money, but very few people talk about our own self-worth and the value. And when we get to the point where we believe in ourselves, when we know how to pick ourselves up from failure, when we believe in ourselves in that I can accomplish many things, then we can be unstoppable, because when one door closes, we'll look for another door. And if I can't find a door, I'm going to knock down the wall and I'm going to open an opportunity or create an opportunity.
Well, Oscar, there is a lot of variety of businesses and a lot of variety of the jobs. Because I am in media. Media as a profession, as a employee, is a different thing. If you are working in IT, is a different job. If you are working in pharmaceutical, it's a different job. If you are working in a hotel industry, there's a different job. Similarly, all the businesses have different kind of capacities needed. If you provide a general phenomena of career opportunities, or you focus specific businesses or specific jobs?
So, no, I focus across industries. What I focus on more is the core of what I focus on is, number one, is helping people develop their professional brand. Number two, I help people learn how to build and nourish relationships. Number three, I help people how to create content so they generate visibility. Those are the three core things that I focus on. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in. In fact, actually, in my case, I have transitioned careers 11 times. I worked in tech, I worked in healthcare, I worked in retail, I worked in automobile sales, consulting, teaching, just a wide variety of different industries. And what it is the core, those three core values that I shared with you is what I have used to help successfully navigate from one industry, from one job to the other.
So one is creating content and other is building connectivity, you mean to say?
Yes. So one is creating content. Number two, building and nourishing relationships. And number three, developing a professional brand.
Professional brand, what does that mean? Professional brand, what does that mean? You mean to say the name of the brand or logo of the brand or something digital graphics for that, or you have an other thing to say about that?
So the way I define professional brand is, what do people think about when they think of us? When they think of Oscar Garcia, what do I want people to know me for? My expertise, my knowledge, my personality, my vision. That's what I refer to as professional brand, because most people think of professional brand from their business standpoint. And when I tell people, listen, when you're Apple, when you're Amazon, when you're Microsoft, when you're Google, yes, they're not going to think about the CEO. We admire the CEO of Google, okay, Sundar, okay, but we think of Google. But we're not there yet. In the meantime, you are developing in fact, when you first heard of me and you read about me, you formed an impression of me. When we started communicating via WhatsApp, you formed another impression of me based on how I communicated my answers. Those are little examples of what I mean by professional brand. Professional brand is me, it's us, you and I. That's where it starts first, then the business.
I really could not get your point. You and me are the professional brands, but for what? Because if you are going into a pharmaceutical business, and if you are going into media business, and if you are going into an aviation business, if you are going into any tourism business or hotel and tourism, you need a different kind of branding or not, or I am wrong?
So, yeah, yes and no. There are some elements where you do need to adapt your brand to the audience, to the market, to the industry. But the brand that your personal brand, your professional brand is before, in order for you and I to get an interview, we need to learn how to develop those relationships. It's, for example, right here, my friend, the reason why you and I are talking is because I delivered a very high quality talks and sessions when I was in Pakistan through the U.S. Embassy. They value. If I did a horrible job, you and I would not be talking. Mm-hmm. And so that goes back to what I mentioned earlier. Knowing how to develop relationships and nourish those relationships, me being a thought leader and expert and doing a good job on that. Those things are foundational before you can even get the job. Because in order for you to get the job, if you are not good at it or you're horrible in the interview, you're not going to get the job.
So, what kind of suggestions for our startups in Pakistan? Because the sessions you have, you delivered your lecture. They were a very specific person were able to have you to listen you. But now this is a wide screen, and I wish that you should few tips or few basic things for the startups, if you can be gracious to us.
Yes. So one of the things that I recommend for startups here, and I'm going to talk about more from the perspective of resilience, because that is the real challenge here. So there's number one is to help startups build that resilience is I encourage them to embrace that feeling. What do I mean by embracing feeling? See, when we fail, it hurts. Oftentimes our parent, it could be shameful. Our community, our family looks down upon us because we failed. And what I tell folks is, yes, it does hurt, it stings, but we need to learn how to embrace that feeling so that we own the feeling instead of the feeling controlling us. Number two is also look at being what I call a possibility thinker. When sometimes we need to learn how to pivot from one industry, maybe the idea that we had wasn't working, and so we need to learn how to pivot and change into a different area, different industry, different model. The other thing, number three, is to be what I call have mental fortitude. And one of the ways to develop that mental fortitude is by learning or embracing what I call a personal growth and development program. See, for almost 30 years, I'm 53 years old. For almost 30 years, I have been reading books on self-awareness, my self-worth, believing in myself, listening to audiobooks, CDs, cassettes, and so forth. My natural personality is an introvert. And today people say, well, how can you make these changes if you're an introvert? It's because for almost 30 years, I have been focusing on my internal self and being mentally, strong inside. And then the last thing that I encourage people to do as well is be self-aware. What are you good at? And what do you really love to do? And what is it that you don't like to do? Because that also helps me, it helps you figure out where it is that you want to go. And ultimately, at the end, what do we want to do? We want to be happy. My friend, the reason why I agreed to wake up at 6:30 in the morning, even though I'm still adjusting to my time, is because I love what it is that I do. I love helping other people. I don't mean this out of disrespect for you, but I could care less about your show. I love helping people, and your show is a vehicle to help other people. And that is a self-awareness that I've gained in 30 years of being in my career and as an entrepreneur.
So what I have learned, I am trying to summarize all that we have discussed. The money is not everything. It is
Nope.
something, but not everything. Your academic marks or mark sheet or the academic grades are not everything, though they are something. Basically, the patience and your commitment to the work, number one. And number two, resilience means how much you are strong enough to face the failures. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're hired. You are hired.
So,
Absolutely.
I can come to join your Aspire.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So I said I'm hired at Aspire or somewhere else.
Yes, yes. You're hired at Aspira Consulting, my friend.
So one last thing, Askar, I would like to ask. I have already asked this question, but people sitting in the villages and the small towns of Pakistan, though they have internet and they have connectivity to the all that is happening in the world, but as I earlier mentioned, they do not have a good academic background. They are not good. They have not sophisticated technical skills. So what is for them? Because they are lacking in everything. They don't have money. They don't have a good education. They don't have a sophisticated technical trainings. What is in this world, this village, this internet village? What is for them? And especially to those markets. As you were talking about Silicon Valley. There's a huge market for the all the tech, this huge tech market. So, what is for people like us is there?
Yeah. So
How we can
I think
reach?
there's a lot of opportunity.
Let me rephrase my question. How we can access to those markets with ill-skilled, ill-educated, ill academia, and without resources? How we can get access to those markets and create opportunities for ourselves?
So it starts with building those relationships. So let me give you an example. And this happens around the world. After I do a talk, I have people that connect with me. And especially with founders, they connect with me because they want me to introduce them to a venture capitalist or someone that can help with their investment. And here's the thing that I tell people, I don't know you. I just met you.
Okay.
I just met you. In fact, I have a daughter. If we were going to get, my daughter was going to get married, I want to meet the family of the groom. I don't just, blindly be like, okay, go get married, daughter. Okay. And so what I tell these founders is, how about first you tell me about yourself, your personality, your journey, because you know about me. Where can we find that information? LinkedIn is a great social media platform for professionals, for founders, for startups. There's so much information that you can find out about a person on LinkedIn. Find something in common. Reach out to them with interest and know how to build that relationship. Once you gain the trust of that person, now we can take that relationship to that next level. Now perhaps you can make the ask. Oscar, you know what? I learned that you are the only one in your family that graduated from college. I see that you started your company 7 years ago. You talk about resilience, et cetera, and so forth. You know what? Let me tell you a little bit about my story. Oh, awesome. And then next that could lead then, Oscar, you know what, I shared with you, I have a startup that does this, we're looking to do this, would you be open to helping me? See, that's a different approach than just automatically connect and be like, Oscar, can you connect me with Fayaz so I can do an interview on TV? You're a complete stranger. Like, beat it, go away. And see, there's so many others, my friend, other examples. I'm just giving you a very specific example of how so many people make mistakes on how to reach out and grow, whether it's professionally or in their business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oscar Garcia, for your time and for your expert opinion. I'm really grateful to you because this is very early in the morning at a place where you are. So, and you have taken such a, we have bothered you so early in the morning. Thank you very much for your time. नाज़रीन गुफ्तगू तां ॿुधी आलमी लेवल जा माहिरनि ऐं दुनिया जे जीअं हुन ॿुधायो पिया त हज़ारें जेको आहे प्रोफेशनल्स खे हुननि ट्रेनिंग ॾिनी आहे ऐं दुनिया जे जेको आहे पंहिंजो 5 कंटिनेंट्स जे अंदरि 15 खां वधीक मुल्कनि जे अंदरि ताज़ो कराची इस्लामाबाद में बि ट्रेनिंग सेशन करे विया आहिनि सिलिकॉन वैली बेस्ड हुनजी फॉर्म आहे हुन सां गुफ्तगू असां कईसीं हुन सां गॾु प्रोग्राम जो वक़्तु पूरो थिए थो पंहिंजे मेज़बान फयाज़ नाइच खे इजाज़त